Welcome to the Daily Agenda on another lovely summer's evening here in rural Nottinghamshire. So the subject of tonight's video is the centre-right, and because I've been asked to expand on the reasons why we should not have any form of alliance or even cooperation with the centre-right, particularly Restore Britain. I mean, Advance UK is not going anywhere anyway, we know that. You know, Ben Habib just couldn't get Rupert Lowe on board, and so that one's dead in the water because Ben Habib just doesn't have the popularity appeal that Rupert Lowe has. And that's the whole issue, isn't it? That's one of the issues, is populism. It's a fart in a wind machine. It's here today and gone tomorrow. That's one of the big bones of contention I have with so-called centre-right populism. It's meaningless. It's entirely lacking in ideology and substance, and its only purpose is here today, gone tomorrow. And the difference with nationalism is that, well, when I say nationalism, I'm not talking about Kenny Smith's pseudo-nationalism and the Homeland Party. No, I'm talking about genuine nationalism. And, and that's a phrase he likes to use often. He's not a genuine nationalist, and the Homeland Party is not genuinely nationalist either. So let's dispense with that nonsense straight away. So genuine nationalism, which I represent, and many people like me, we have an ideology, and the ideology is the bedrock of our political purpose, and it endures decade after decade after decade, providing we don't become an absolutely extinct minority, or a minority so small in percentage that we actually become extinct, which is the whole purpose of nationalism, isn't it? Ethno-nationalism in particular. And so that's a major area of difference between us. In fact, we're polar opposites, in truth, in that respect. We have similarities, only where the centre-right decides to play the imitation game. And one thing I was reading on the Restore Britain website was a call to release all political prisoners, and focused obviously on the Lucy Connolly case. Yes, that's right. Even the dozy Homeland Party and the British Democrats have bought into it, trying to play the populist card. No. This is just a big mistake, you know. It's like the centre-right do the imitation game. The one thing nationalists should never do is play the imitation game by imitating the centre-right. Why should Lucy Connolly not be used as a cause célèbre? Well, she incited attacks on hotels, didn't she? Okay, she deleted the tweet and said she was very sorry, etc., and then pleaded guilty to it. She didn't have to plead guilty. She chose to plead guilty, under duress, admittedly, but hers is not the ideal case, is it? You see now, and this is another big reason why I can't be allied to people like Restore Britain. Because, well, where's the assurance that they want to overturn the convictions of political prisoners? In other words, look at the language itself. They don't even use the phrase politically motivated malicious prosecution, because that's exactly what these cases are, the vast majority of them. Politically motivated malicious prosecution. Now, if Rupert Lowe was to come to me and say, now listen, Simon, these cases in which you were prosecuted 3 times in 2014, politically motivated malicious prosecution, again in March 2016, politically motivated malicious prosecution, and again in August 2018, politically motivated malicious prosecution, utterly riddled with trial rigging and corruption on an extensive scale. And that's now back at the Criminal Cases Review Commission, although they're about as much use as a chocolate teapot in the midday Sahara sun. You know, so the likelihood of getting those convictions overturned by the CCRC are about 0, even though the new evidence I've sent to them is absolutely damning, conclusively damning. In fact, that doesn't mean anything when you're dealing with an institutionally corrupt system. That is not just 2-tier, it's actually multi-tiered, multifaceted. Its corruption has so many faces and so many factions that they favour and dislike. It's impossible to call it 2-tier justice, but that's what they do. It's 2-tier to them. 2-tier Keir, because it's got some rhymology to it, and they can't even spell Keir right, most of them. I don't suppose it matters to them, as they have nothing but contempt for the man. But there you go. And so, you know, these are major stumbling blocks that we have. So when they say restore Britain, what exactly do they want to restore? Do they want to restore restorative justice, for example? Do they even know what restorative justice is? So restorative justice, I'll explain it to you. It's where a raft of injustice has been done and justice comes in to restore balance and order and fairness. Yes, there's no mention of restorative justice there whatsoever. And looking at deepfake reform, there's no mention of it there either. So we have major stumbling blocks there. And of course, where's the assurance on freedom of expression? I wrote a reform charter enshrining the right to freedom of expression in constitutional law, and which would bind all future parliaments. No parliament wants to be bound by any preceding parliament, remember. That's the whole point of binding them, to ensure this legislative tyranny cannot be revisited upon the British people once we've completed the remigration policy. And that's another issue, isn't it? Now, Rupert Lowe is not a remigrationist at all. He's a deportationist. He wants some deportations to make it look good. Let's kick 200,000 or 300,000 of them out of the country, and probably heat into the Boris wave as well, just to make it look a little bit more better. But you know, in all honesty, let's just leave the vast majority of them in the country, breeding at a far higher rate than what we are, and we'll still become a minority anyway. So it doesn't really matter, does it? It's meaningless, quite frankly. And all of them struggle to define British ethnicity, particularly English, Welsh, Scottish and Irish. Nationalists don't have any problem with that at all. We've always been very clear about it. It's based on race. Yes, that's right. It's based on race. It's based on DNA. Okay? The race produces the culture. The culture does not produce the race. All culture evolves from the race or a race. Now, their attitude towards that matter is racism. Oh yes, it's racism. Yes, absolutely. Not that anybody... Does anybody actually care about being called a racist anymore? It's been so thoroughly flogged to death. It's absolutely meaningless, quite frankly. It's just a stupid little swear word invented by a rabid mass-murdering monster, Leon Trotsky, who was so extreme that even the other Judeo-Bolsheviks had him knocked off for being monstrously extreme. So there you go. Who gives a toss about being called a racist? Well, apparently most of the centre-right do. And there's another big issue with them, isn't it? You know? And so, yes, on the remigration issue, they don't really support remigration, certainly not to the same extent that nationalists do, and they don't want to guarantee a white supermajority. They simply say, well, a white supermajority will be the end result of our deportations policy. No, it won't. Absolute nonsense. It will not, because they can't even specify the number of people and the type of people they actually want to remove from the country. We can do that quite clearly. I've done it very easily on the dailyagenda.co.uk. If I can do it, why can't they do it? They're either too gutless, clueless, or they're being deceitful. Or maybe it's just all three of those things. Only they really know, don't they? But I'd say it is all three of those things, quite frankly. And so, you know, there are major areas where we just cannot disagree, and that we are polar opposites, that we are so fundamentally different. How can we ever be in an alliance of any description? It's just not possible. Surely you understand this. And to all the silly little trolls that have come onto the timeline and said, oh, it's a really clever idea because, well, someone has told it's a clever idea. In fact, Kenny Smith and Charlie Downs, who have been colluding with one another for quite some time, by Kenny Smith's own admission. You want to listen to the voicemail? Don't push me far enough. You will listen to that voicemail, I assure you. Yes, they've been colluding with one another for quite some time. And they've come up with this agreement that nationalists and the pseudo-nationalists, the centre-right, or maybe they are just a centre-left flag group, remains to be seen. The jury's out on that one in the context of Restore Britain. I mean, Fake Farage is leading a centre-left flag group. UKIP is a centre-left flag group, which he led before that, hardly surprising. I don't really see much difference with the Heritage Party. That's also a centre-left flag group, also minuscule. It's barely even noticeable what they're actually doing. I can't think of anything in actual fact. And so And then, of course, we have Steve Law's, the E-celeb. An E-celeb, come on, get real. An E-celeb who drifted into nationalism from the centre-right, you know, a political prostitute. I know he doesn't like these terms, and that's okay. I don't care what Steve Laws thinks. I'm not interested. His attitude towards people of my generation is so misplaced from reality. All I can say to Steve Laws is, you wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in the British National Party. You're just not man enough. Absolutely not man enough. You'd have been gone quick sharp the moment it kicked off. I've seen it before, the three wee warriors. All talk and no action, and when the action starts, boom, gone in a flash. Forget remigration now. But yes, this boy, because that's what he is to me, likes slagging off my generation. He even mistakes me for a boomer. Actually, I'm Gen X, according to this terminology, which I don't use at all in actual fact. I'm just a genuine person. I don't give a toss about boomer, Gen X, Zoomer, or any other crap that comes out of America, quite frankly. Same as red pill, black pill, red pill, white pill, rainbow pill. I couldn't care less what bloody pill these people are taking. You know, start taking a reality pill. You know, that's the one thing the Daily Agenda is about, giving you some reality pills. If you don't like reality pills, well, I suggest you go and watch something else. Maybe the centre-right would be better suited to your tastes for pills of every description, like red pills and black pills. Is there a purple pill or a yellow pill in this terminology, in this whole pseudo-intellectual thinking? Who knows and who cares? I just don't use it, and I've never studied it, quite frankly. I don't intend to, because it's American crap. That's my attitude on just about everything that comes out of America. And there's another major bone of contention between the centre-right and British nationalists, is that we do not seek to maintain the fantasy of a special relationship with the Judeo-American US administration at all, because there has never been a special relationship between us. It's a fantasy, absolute nonsense at all. No, we intend Britain to have its own foreign policy and to withdraw from NATO and to go into a position of armed neutrality and not to be involved in any of these crazy foreign wars that are started by IPAC or APAC, man, whatever you want to call it, brother. And that's one of another thing about the centre-right, you know, is Carl Benjamin's bro. Oh man, honestly, please. Ugh. Excuse me while I vomit. I mean, obviously I won't do that on screen, or certainly not on the screen. No, absolutely not. I don't want to have to clean the device afterwards. It's quite a messy job. But yes, these are just some of the areas that, you know, where we fundamentally disagree, and I fail to see how there can ever be compromise or union between us. And there's the issue of Zionism itself. You know, these people are all sold out to Zionism, you know, and then of course they have the arch grifter, the Irish grifter, junkie boy, Tommy Robinson, you know, the biggest grifter in Britain with an Irish passport, no less, and which suits obviously his Irish ancestry and the fact that he's so proud of his Fenian relatives. Yeah, so anyway, I made that point perfectly clear about Tommy in the past. So now they've all jumped on board with Rupert, Lowe and Restore Britain. And no nationalist can be allied to anyone directly connected to Tommy bloody Robinson. Sorry, aka Stephen Lennon, or whatever other name Tommy Five Names is used in any particular given day. And so, you know, it's just this support for Israel, because every war in the Middle East generates another migration crisis caused by the Zionists. And of course, it's Europe that gets flooded with them, isn't it? It's a toxic relationship that has to be brought to an end. And it can never be brought to an end, and nationalists will never be able to do it whilst they're in bed with the centre-right. And so therefore, on those grounds alone, there can be no alliance with these people. There can be no cooperation. There's nothing to discuss, truthfully. And then, of course, there's the litany of criminal offences that the centre-right is committing, notably fraud, drug dealing, county lines drug dealing, false accounting, touching up young underage girls, gang-banging underage girls as well. It was all well documented, and there's even more of it coming out soon, I assure you. You'll be Well, if you have a moral compass, you'll be disgusted. I already know about it. I can't tell you about it at this moment in time, but you'll be disgusted when it comes out in the next few weeks. It is appalling, typically so. And that's another reason why there can be no unification whatsoever with the centre right, Restore Britain included. The Restore Britain is just another alter ego of Reform UK. And for my intents and purposes, I would say it exists for exactly the same reasons. Safety valve operation. And Kenny Smith, of course, who was proved to be not very bright up top at all. I hope Kenny's not offended, and if he is, well, that's just too bad, because he's proved, you know, how stupid he's been by getting suckered into this safety valve operation. Previously, he got suckered into backing Reform UK and claiming all genuine nationalists. So as if Kenny Smith ever speaks for genuine nationalists. When did that begin? I can tell you when it ended. The moment he climbed into bed with Restore Britain. Although in truth it should have ended when he told nationalists, genuine nationalists, all genuine nationalists to vote for Reform UK. Yes, they're not perfect, and he himself voted for them and said he would campaign for them. My goodness, honestly. There's no nationalism going on whatsoever of any description inside the Homeland Party. It's just it's a rule taker in the relationship with Restore Britain. It has no power, no influence of any significance. It's just totally and utterly irrelevant. Its membership growth has stagnated completely. There's deep unhappiness within the party. And so there you go. I mean, I don't really care what happens to the Homeland Party. I'd like to see it completely disintegrate, quite frankly, because it is totally sold out on nationalism, the true purpose and course and value of nationalism. And bearing in mind, Kenny Smith actually told me that when I was making the BNP docu-series, I said, well, thousands of people have been reactivated, reawakened, and that's a good thing. For nationalism, oh, I don't want them. I don't want them in the Homeland Party. But who's going to be his activist? Oh, Joe Public, apparently. No, Joe Public are not going to be his activist. Absolutely not. Dream world stuff. And so he told me he didn't want them. He regarded the BNP toxic old guard as not just its leaders, but all of its members and activists. So there you go, and he was one of them, heavily implicated in the leak of the BNP membership list, although not directly involved in its leak, named in the injunction banning it from being leaked, and it still got leaked anyway. So there you go. This is my point. There is no nationalism going on in the Homeland Party. There's some nationalism going on in Remigration Action. I don't know how much nationalism is going on inside the British Democrats. That's a moot point, as they seem to be far too taken up with Christian Story Hour with Jim Lethway and his daft old bin on the settee. You know, come on. I mean, look, you know, I can only be honest, and sometimes it comes out quite crude, and that's just the way it is, you know, because I am honest, I'm sincere and genuine, and I'm not here to con you, and there's nothing in it for me. Absolutely, I'm not making any money out of this whatsoever, not one penny. I'm not living in a grand mansion somewhere, and I don't expect to ever become rich out of this, and I've never made any money out of nationalism at all. And so there you go. And I'm not asking people for millions of pounds to pay legal fees, which I just throw a few quid at a lawyer, then sack it and pocket all the rest, like Tommy Robinson. This is not my style. This is not how I operate. I have genuine policies, genuine ideas for sweeping reform, not fake reform, not deep fake reform, and certainly not restore nothing in Britain. So, because I just can't see anything there that's going to be restored, because there is absolutely no detailed policy at all for restorative justice. And that's what Britain is drowning in, a sea of injustice. And before Restore Britain could ever be taken seriously in the restoration business, they've got to come up with a restorative policy, and they don't have one. All they have is sound bites, bullet points. That's all you get from these people. There is no reductionist explanation of any description of their policies and how to make them work and the end purpose of using those policies. You'll find it on thedailyagenda.co.uk though. Absolutely. All worked out years in advance with careful planning and forethought. Because I'm not centre-right, you see, and I'm not a fake nationalist either, I'm the real deal. And I put a great deal of thought into these things, into the mechanics of making these things work based on experience. And so I'm still waiting to see anything of any substance in Restore Britain. And as I said, I've looked at their website and I just can't see it. I can just see some fancy tiles containing their bullet points and no substance. Hardly surprising, because it's just like Reform UK with a very similar colour scheme, you know. And so, look. And then, of course, there's a litany of criminal offences the centre-right have committed against me, and death threats, false and misleading allegations all across the public domain, conspiring with bent coppers to try and frame me and get me sent to prison for absolutely nothing other than exposing the truth. These people are not involved in any form of Restore Britain or reforming anything. They're just a bunch of crooks, quite frankly, and I most definitely will not be allying myself with them at any time, in any way, shape or form. And what I would say to them was, perhaps a starting point, if they wish to have any form of discussion with me, and one of their muppets did send me an email with a phone number and asked me to phone it with a view to joining Restore Britain and healing the rift between us. But what rift? There is no rift between us. We've never been allies to begin with. There's no need for reconciliation. We were never conciled in the first place, you bloody clown. But anyway, you know, perhaps the starting point would be for them to hand over all of the people in the centre-right who threatened to kill me, so that they can be chastised properly, not by bent coppers, obviously, in the corrupt cause. And then we might have something to talk about, but that's not going to happen, is it? But they're still going to be chastised anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it, whether they agree to it or not. There's a time and a place for everything, I absolutely guarantee you. I don't give a toss about anyone in the centre-right, just as I don't give a toss about anyone in the so-called real far-right, nationalism. Okay? You will not stop me from doing what needs to be done. It really is that simple. And so that's what I have to say, is that they couldn't even meet me on that point alone. And on that point, I'll tell you this. I had this discussion with Tommy Robinson on Getter. I think it was nearly 3 years ago now, in actual fact, in which I gave him the opportunity to, how can I put it, administer justice onto the miscreants within his ranks, and he refused and made an abusive response. And so therefore Tommy Robinson, quite frankly, is the prime malefactor as far as I'm concerned, and there'll be no deals of any description with that vile little scumbag. And you'll understand just what a truly vile scumbag he is in a few weeks' time, when the big revelations come out about him and his grifting gang and all the dirty, disgusting things they've been up to. I wonder what Rupert Lowe will have to say about it then. Perhaps Ant Middleton will want to jump ship back in a different direction, who knows. But it's going to be very entertaining watching all these rats running around the sinking ship, jumping left, right and centre. And it's going to be even more entertaining watching Kenny Smith explain why he got involved with these people in the first place, because he can explain it all he wants, because he's in the Homeland Party now. That's all he's got. He's not coming back to nationalism. Nobody wants him. Nobody trusts him. It's as simple as that. Nobody trusts him. He's finished. He's got the Homeland Party, and when it sinks, he sinks with it. End of. Okay? Remigration Action is staying true to the cause, and we're staying on course, and we're not making any deals of any description with the centre-right, for the reasons I've just outlined in the foregoing video. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if there are any more questions, then please leave a comment. But please don't leave comments urging me to change my mind. It's never going to happen, and you're not going to change my mind. Okay? I'm a man of principle. There will be no compromise of any description with the centre-right. And I have explained those reasons why, I think now, many times. Okay? So I would say, let it sink in, please. I've explained to you why there will be no cooperation with them. There will definitely be no alliance with them. Now, we're staying on the true course of nationalism for the sake of this country and to achieve remigration and a white supermajority. And if you want to be part of that, go to thedailyagenda.co.uk, top right hand corner, click on Remigration Action, sign up, become a member for £10. Have a great day. Have a lovely weekend.